And hello, everyone. Welcome again. Nice to see you all. I'm not sure which webinar this must be, our fifth or sixth. So welcome to everyone who's coming back, and hello to anyone that's new. So today we are, excuse me, today we are going to go through the different types of coverage you can add to Coverage Book. I guess most people already know you can add online, but so we're going to look at like the others, like broadcast and print. There's been lots of enthusiasm about us showing you how you can add Instagram stories. And then we're going to wrap it up by also talking about adding blank divider slides and how you can add different slides that you might want to add in to add more context to your report. So we try and keep these very short and sweet, try and keep it within the half an hour because I know how busy everybody is. Don't worry about taking too many notes because I will send you a follow-up with the video and links to anything that we've spoken about, and lots of follow-up information, and that should be winging its way to you on Friday. And so I think if you have any questions as we go along, feel free to pop them in the chat. With us today, you've got me. I'm Laura. I'm head of customer success here. You've got David, who is head of customer support, and then you've got Will over there in the silent wings of the keyboard. So he will be happily answering any questions as you go along. And then if there's any questions that need a bit more of a demo and David to demonstrate something, we'll go through those at the end. So don't worry if your question's not answered straight away. We'll loop back to it. So without further ado, here you go, David.
Hey, thanks, Laura. So hi, everyone. Thanks for joining this webinar today. As Laura mentioned, we're going to cover kind of everything to do with adding different types of coverage that aren't a regular kind of online web article or a social media post. And then we'll look at a few other things as well. Let me just share my screen. Cool. Okay, so hopefully now everybody is looking at my my demo account for Coverage Book, which I'm sure you're probably quite familiar with by now if you've joined these webinars. So before we dive into looking at other types of coverage, I just wanted to really do a quick recap on online and social, just to kind of explain the main differences between the two. So as you upload a regular website URL or a social media post URL, we will collect a screenshot and some metrics information back automatically about those. So for online coverage, we kind of handle the importing automatically as soon as you paste in the URL. So just as a really quick run through, we collect the overall publisher metrics and we show those at the top. So you will see the domain authority from moz.com. You will also see the site-wide audience, which is the monthly unique visits from SimilarWeb. And then down on the right-hand side, we will show metrics that measure specifically the performance of the coverage itself. So estimated views, how many people are likely to have viewed this coverage. We'll also collect social engagement. So that will be the number of times an article shared on something like Pinterest, Twitter, or Facebook. And you can also search for things like backlinks to your client's coverage. So you can do all of that with your online articles. And then for social media, we offer a range of different kind of metrics depending on the platform that you add. So for something like Instagram, we will include the follower count of that audience, for the follower count, the followers for that account, excuse me. We will estimate views and we will show things like likes and comments. For things like TikTok and YouTube, we will also show how many subscribers there are to the channel, how many views that post has had, and also things like likes, comments, and shares. So we do all of that automatically for online. The reason I mention that now is because we do also support other coverage types like adding images and files for print, radio, and broadcast. But the main difference is that we don't provide any metrics automatically. But having said that, it is quite a quick process to add in your own data if you have it available for things like print circulation, audiences, and so on and so forth. And that's what we're going to look at now. So I'm just going to dive into this other book that I've started to make, and it's called Adding Coverage Files. You might notice my face on the front cover. I've stolen some of my own Instagram posts to basically add to this so that I can show you how to add stories and stuff a little bit later on. So the first thing we're going to do is just go down and have a look at how you can add print coverage. So in this particular report, I have organized each of my coverage sections into like print, broadcast, radio, and I've also got Instagram as a separate section at the bottom. But you can choose to organize your coverage however you like, that's fine. So when adding coverage, it's exactly the same process as you would do for online. You can just click on the green Add Coverage button in the top left-hand corner. And from here, you've got the Add Coverage Links option, which will purely be for your online coverage. And then for everything else, you can add that as a coverage file. So if you've added coverage of this type before, you'll probably be super familiar with this, but just a quick run through. So you can add up to 50 files at a time to this area. So if you tend to have like a bunch of print clippings that you want to upload all at once, that's fine. You can do them all together. We support a range of different file types as well. So for image formats, you can import JPEG, PNG, and GIF files. And we also accept single and multi-page PDFs. So if you do tend to get your clippings sent over as kind of like a 2 or 3 page PDF that covers a magazine spread or something, you can upload that as one file. And then for audio, we accept MP3. So if you have any kind of radio or podcast files, you can upload those. And for video formats, we accept MP4, WMV, and movie. Just to let you know that the maximum file size is 250 megabytes. So if you have a file that's kind of larger than that, I would suggest maybe trying to trim it down a little, or perhaps just export it as a slightly lower resolution or quality to see if you can get it under that limit. If you ever did need some help with that, please do get in touch at support@coveragebook.com, and we can happily help. Have a look. Okay, so basically just click on Upload Files. And from here, I'm going to go and grab some print files. So I've got a couple of print example clippings here that I'm going to add. Okay, so they've come through now. Quite a handy tip, actually. Again, you might already do this, but if you have the file name as the title of the clip, it might just save you doing a little bit of editing later on, but that's fine. And then from here, you can choose which section to add these clips to, and we're going to put them into the print section. Okay, so there are a couple of different ways that you can import coverage files, and we've included this kind of quick add page that you can use. But alternatively, if you prefer to see the coverage clipping images in full as you're scrolling through the report so that you can edit them, you can just save the items to the book at this point and skip all of this. So you don't need to do this part if you don't want to. But what you can do from here is you can make a couple of little edits. So I've noticed the apostrophe was missing off of Chef Bart's Pizza Special. You can also choose a published date from this point as well. Now, the next section at the end is where you can search for the outlet or publication for this particular piece of coverage. So if you have ever added coverage from this publication before, you can just search for it and then just add it and save it to that same publication. And I know that with this particular one, with Food Magazine, I do already have a publication that I've added coverage to before. So what I can do here is I can just find Food Magazine in my account and then save that to the book. So we don't pre-populate all of the publications in advance. So this will just be over time. As you add more and more coverage to your account, you'll kind of build up a list of your regular publications that you can just go back to and select to save you a bit of time. So with this particular article from The Olive, just going to
David, can I pause you? Could you zoom your screen a bit bigger?
Oh yeah, sure. Let me see if I can do that.
There you go. Thank you.
Is that a bit better? Okay, yeah. Great. Sorry about that. Yeah, I've got a really big sort of 30-inch monitor, so it probably looks a bit small. Yeah. So what you can do here is you can select a published on date again. And then from here, you can also search to see whether or not this outlet has already been included in your account before. So for example, if I try searching for The Olive, okay, you can see that I haven't added a publication from The Olive before, so we can add one of those in a moment. So I'm just going to go ahead and save this clip to the book. So when I go and view the coverage now, let's start by just adding the details for The Olive magazine. So what you'll see is it's pulled through the image of the coverage, and on the top right-hand side, you've got the title. And what I can now do is I can now add the outlet that this coverage is from. So if I click on Add Outlet Details, and click on Create New Outlet. So from here, I can do a range of things. If I click on Drop Image, I can actually go and find an image of that outlet, and I should have saved one already. You don't have to do this, by the way. I think it's in Logos. There we go. And then once that's coming through, I can then select which category that this publication is. So this is quite an important one. If it's a printed piece, if you choose print, then we will show the audience as circulation. If you choose TV, it will be viewers, radio, listeners, and so on and so forth. So you can choose how the audiences are presented when you share the report with others. So for this one, we're going to choose print. And then we're just going to give it a name, so The Olive magazine. Oops. If you have a little bit of extra text that you want to include as a description for this particular publication, you can include it here as well. And then when you're done, we can create the outlet. So at this point, yeah, you've got the nice like logo. You've also got the title of the publication here. And now we've got the option to select a print circulation. So if I click on this here, I can now type in, say, 10,000 and save that. So what this will do is it will remember this circulation for every subsequent piece of coverage that you upload to this printed outlet in future. So it should hopefully save you a bit of time in having to manually add numbers for things like offline coverage. There's a number of other things that you can do here as well. So you can add a URL. So if this links out to a digital version of this publication, for example, you can just put something in there. And then when you share the report with others, that will link back to that website. And you've also got the option of adding custom metrics. We covered this in quite a lot of detail in the last webinar, so please do check that one out. But for any other information that you want to include about this particular piece, you can add that as a custom metric. So I could include, for example, a count of the number of times my product image showed in this coverage, but I can include any other data that I want as well. Before we move on to look at broadcast and radio coverage, you can also add as many other supporting images as you like to this clipping. So you don't have to stick with just the one main image. If you click on the Add Images button at the bottom, you can basically just click here to upload additional JPEGs or PDFs or whatever, and they will appear as a list on the left-hand side. And much like all of the other coverage as well, you can just drag and drop these images around to kind of reorder them. And you've also got some editing options to do things like cropping the image down. So if you wanted to just tidy up the top or sides then you can do that. So let's move on and have a look at a couple of other types of coverage. So we're going to look at radio coverage and also broadcast, just to see how they display as well when you upload them. Just because these are quite large files, I've already gone ahead and uploaded them to my account. So we'll start with a broadcast clip. This is an MP4 of a tutorial video that I made for Coverage Book, and I've just uploaded it as an example of some video coverage. So again, with this one, I can just click to add the outlet details, and I can just quickly search to see whether or not Examply TV is in my account. Might help if I spelt it right, actually. Okay, so that's not showing up, so I can just go ahead and add that as a new outlet. And for this one, we're going to call it TV. And then when I save it to this outlet, you'll see that I've now got just an audience that you can add here. So if I add that number in there, that will remember it for this particular broadcast. And it's super similar for radio as well. So this is a podcast recording that I borrowed from Stella from the PR Resolution podcast area. And so I've uploaded that as an MP3 file. I've also pulled through the bio image and just a little bit of information about that outlet. And I recorded this as a radio, so it will show as a listenership as the audience. So you can see how you can kind of tailor the overall audiences depending on what type of coverage you're importing. And then as you're adding all of these pieces of coverage together, when you go to the metric summary page, there are a range of different ways that we can show this coverage. So for example, you will see the overall audience, and that includes the combined total of all of the coverage types. But you can also break that out as well. So you can show how many Instagram followers your accounts have. You can also total up the print circulation. You can show the overall TV audience and the radio listenership as well. So if you want to break out the audiences separately into different cards, just click on the Choose Metrics option in the top left, go to the audience area, and from here, this is where you can toggle on or off the different cards depending on how you want to show those numbers or not. So that's looked at print, radio, and broadcast coverage. Let's have a look at how you can add something like an Instagram story. So to do this, I already have some coverage in my account of my lovely dog and cat and their favorite, well, my dog's favorite place to walk anyway, from my own Instagram account. So if you do have kind of stories that you want to include in addition to your regular kind of Instagram coverage, you can actually add those as well. They just need to be added manually. This is basically because Instagram doesn't format stories in a way that we can clip automatically. But if that does change in the future, we'll be really pleased to try and look at how we can do that. But for now, what you can do is, again, just click on Upload Coverage Files. And we're going to go and find an Instagram story that I've got. Okay. I'm just going to add that to my Instagram section. So I've already called it Instagram Story Sourdough. The date. Now, what I can actually do here is, because I've already got coverage added from my own Instagram account, I can actually just search for me and then just save that coverage directly to my own Instagram profile. So the benefit of doing this is that it actually pulls through all of the follow account and the bio information that you would see if you added a regular kind of Instagram post. So for example, yeah, there's my dog Willow with a big tongue. You know, it pulls through the profile picture, any sort of bio information, and it will also automatically pull the follow account for the post, which is really nice. So what you will see is, you'll see it, that's added to my Instagram profile. It's pulled through the followers, and this particular media is also playable directly from the shared book. So this is another really good benefit of adding media content, is when you share this book with others and you preview it, they can actually play things like stories or MP3s or MP4 files directly from the report. So that's a really nice thing. There are many different tools out there that you can use for recording stories as well. So one of the ones I know that a couple of our customers have used in the past is Storysaver.net. So this is one that you can use to basically put in the Instagram account username, and if the story is available either as a story or as an Instagram highlight, you should be able to download that as an MP4 file that you can then import into your account. You might have another tool that you use for this, and if you do, please share it in the chat. So the other way to add extra information to Coverage Book that isn't necessarily coverage is to use our coverage slides feature. And this is a really good way of bringing much more context and insight into a report. So you'll notice when you look at any of the sections, there is a custom slides, add images and analysis option. So this will allow you to import a full high resolution campaign image or a chart, or perhaps if you get like a social media report through from another provider with some nice imagery and numbers, you can include that as well. You can also include slides just as a section on their own, and that's what I've done in this coverage overview page, or this coverage overview section here. So I've already got a couple of slides added just to kind of show you what that might look like. And I'm just going to add another one, which is for a chart. And then we'll put, there we go, custom slides. So at the moment, you can't actually like do things like text edit or create slides directly within Coverage Book. But if you use something like PowerPoint or Google Slides or something else like that, you can basically include these as full page images. So I've got a nice chart here. The really nice thing about this is when you share the report with others, they will see these as full page slides as they scroll through, as a really nice introduction before they get to the coverage itself in your report. So it's a really good way of kind of adding extra context and information. So that's pretty much everything I had to share on importing different coverage file types and also custom slides. Just before we go, I did want to mention our new front cover designs. I'm not sure if anybody has actually used or set these up yet. But we've now got some really nice ways that you can display coverage on your front cover page. So for example, you've got a couple of different view options available. You've got a stacked view or a side-by-side view. You can also edit the background color, and you can change the way that the montage image displays your coverage as well. So please do have a look at this. I've got this set to highlights, but you can also set it as a random selection, or your most recently added, or you can just focus on items within a section in your report. So it's a really nice way of customizing those front cover montage images. I think that's everything. Does anybody have any questions?
Thank you, David. It's been very quiet in the chat. I think that must mean that you've explained things very, very well. That's what I'm hoping for anyway. So if anybody else has any more questions before we go, feel free to drop them in the chat now and we can quickly answer them. If not, and you think of something a bit later on, don't worry, you can always email support@coveragebook.com and David or Will we'll get back to you via email anyway. I will send everybody an email with the recording of this over the next few days. And I think it's a wrap for today. So then our next webinar will be in December, all about creating end of year reports. So how to merge reports, how to make a bit bigger reports, and all about making the end of year reports, because as well as Christmas, we know it's the time that you have to make the like compiling reports. So before we go, I think there is a quick question. For Instagram stories, do you just need to link the Instagram page to get the metrics?
Yeah, good question, Bonnie. So essentially, as long as you've added coverage from that Instagram account before as a regular post or something, you know, either a regular post or a reel, then you should already have that influencer's Instagram account saved in your Coverage Book account. So what you can basically do is just, as you're importing something like a story file or an image or something like that, you can basically just search for that influencer's outlet and then save it to it, and that will save the audience for it. The important thing to remember is when you're adding coverage files, it won't pull through all of the other engagements, because we collect that directly from the Instagram URL. But you could potentially just go to the post and maybe add a metric in here for things like likes, comments, engagements, views, etc. So you could do that manually if you wanted to, but at least it helps make the coverage look a little bit more similar and cohesive when you're adding something like a story, because it will look quite similar to your other Instagram accounts. You can also do this manually as well. So if you haven't added coverage from an influencer before, you can add in the influencer's logo, you can give it a description, and you can copy and paste whatever sort of bio text or emojis they've added in their profile and put it in there. So it should look very similar to the Instagram account's own profile. Hope that helps.
Yeah, Bonnie says, okay, great, thanks.
Thanks, Bonnie.
That's answered it. And Sue also says, thanks, David, as helpful as ever. We do find our David lovely and helpful. And we like to embarrass him by saying that at the end of webinars.
I think just one other question from Harriet I was going to mention. Just if you want to send one piece of coverage, can you do that rather than the whole report? There isn't a single coverage share link option right now, Harriet. Essentially, is it possible to add an influence like? Yeah, so you couldn't share just a single clip from your account. You'd need to just share a link to the report itself. Yeah.
And is it possible to add an influencer like print publication, like a print publication? Ari, would you like to explain a bit more? I'm not sure I fully understand the question.
I mean, I'm guessing the answer would be yes. So in the same way that you can set up an outlet for a print publication or whatever, you can do that for a social account as well. So for example, if I just pretend that I'm creating a new outlet for this clip, you can also choose social, and then you could set that up with a name, a description, and you can give it a photo as well. But if not, you could actually just also just add a post from that account and then take it out of the book so that you've saved all of their nice information, and then you just add further stuff to their profile.
I hope that answers your question. We'll just leave the chat open for a few more minutes in case anybody else comes through. But I think if no one has any questions in the next couple of minutes, I think that's us for today. So everyone over in America, happy Thanksgiving. And hope everyone has a good rest of the day or evening, as it is coming nice and dark here in the UK. Okay, brilliant.
Yeah.
Right, see you later. Bye.
Thanks everyone. Cheers, bye.